meal, Subway's chicken cordon bleu melt.
Bite into the unforgettable flavor of the new chicken cordon bleu melt. Made with grilled chicken, Black Forest ham, and melted cheese. Only for a limited time and only at Subway.
It's what's inside that counts. Inside your house, that is. With Beacon, you can ensure everything inside your home with our Easy Buy contents packages. Just click, match, and buy to cover your furniture, electronics, appliances, clothing, kitchen items, and much, much more. For maximum peace of mind with minimum fuss, log on to beacon.co.tt and choose your package today. Call us at 440-4447 for more info today.
Okay, Debbie, you're very early this morning. Very first one in the room. It's definitely a bit Andrea to this morning. Anyways, guys, we are back inside the ladies' room on this beautiful Wednesday, August 5th. And last year, 2019, we definitely would not have been even thinking about having this conversation because we would have been in carnival mode and getting ready for Free Day later on or Ciroc or whatever event we would have had on this Carnival Wednesday. So we would not have been in work mode. No, the jobs would not have been in work mode at all. So it's just amazing, you know, how roles have been reversed and the tides have shifted, and here we are talking seriousness on a Carnival Wednesday on Third Off. But you know what? It goes to show we gotta make use of each and every time and day and opportunity and let nothing go to waste. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm not sure what you guys are on, but that's definitely what I'll be doing, making use of all the time of God and the opportunities that come our way. So again, welcome everybody. It's good to have you guys back in the room. As soon as you're coming in, hit the share button and give other folks, as always, the opportunity to be part of our conversation. And that's what we're gonna have this morning. Like I always say to folks, I don't do interviews. I have conversations with my guests, and at the end of it, you either learn something or you don't, whatever the case might be. But this morning, I hope it'll be a learning experience in the room because I am joined by my good friend, Derrick Sylvester. Good morning, Council. How are you?
Hi. Good morning. Good morning, Arona. It's a pleasure to be with you in the ladies' room.
I'm getting a serious feedback. Why am I seeing you twice in a row? I need to kick you out of
Let me try to lower the volume.
All right. I think we're good now. Try it again.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, better now. Better. Much better now. Oh, where did you go? I got you. Yeah, no, there was a feedback because he was logged in twice. So I kicked him out on one and then he kicked out himself on the other. But he will join us shortly so we can have the conversation. But in the meantime, good morning to everyone coming on in, and don't forget to hit the share button. We got it. Yeah, he's gonna rejoin us. He logged on 2 devices, so that would have been the problem. All right, I think we are good now.
Good.
Yeah, we're good now. Is there any echo, guys? Let me know if it is, or just give me a thumbs up if we're good. I'm not seeing myself on the screen. All right, there we go. All right, is it better now? Just give me a thumbs up quickly if we're good now. And I think that we are. Okay. Anybody, just give me a thumbs up. All right, so we're good now. Okay, great. All right, so as I was saying, good morning, Council. How are you?
Good morning to you. All the best, and I'm happy to be in the ladies' room with you today.
Yeah, it's been long overdue. And I'm telling you, I'm so grateful to COVID for so many things, because a lot of folks that I've been trying to get to have a conversation with prior to, I was so busy running here, running there, couldn't find you, settled down nowhere. And now it has definitely provided that opportunity, to speak with so many different people every day. It is not even funny, but we are so happy to have you here.
Yeah,
but I guess it's a conversation we'll be having. There's a lot I want to touch on, but first I want to start with you, getting to know you first, and delving a little bit into your background and how you got into law and why law. And then there are some things that are making the rounds I want to pick your brain on. So let's start with you. And
Sure. Just before we start, the point you raise is so interesting because it's amazing how time has changed. Because for the last couple of weeks since the pandemic, we've been having court online. So most of the high courts, we've been doing it via this medium. Solely the magistrate court that sit, whereby you still have to actually visit a physical room. So, it's so much has changed, and so much has changed for the better. I hope, Aruna, that it continues that way and it be the norm going forward.
is it working that way though? How would you rate it?
It is for some matters. The only ones that I'm concerned about really are the matters where you would have trials. So you actually have to see the person to determine whether or not that person is speaking the truth, because so much you could learn from actually seeing someone in person and the body language, what they say to you, how they react. So that's the only drawback. Outside of that, I think we're on the right track to complete our matters expeditiously, because I must say that most of the matters that I had pending in the Court of Appeal was completed during the pandemic, where we had the judges sitting in different countries, maybe one in St. Lucia, one in another country, So, it was really a blessing. It was really a blessing.
So imagine it took COVID to get us to this point to use technology. Technology has always been there, but we have not been utilizing it the way we've had. So we got some things to tell COVID thanks for.
Yeah, definitely. That's the good that come out of the bad.
You always have to look for the good and always have to look for the best in opportunities. So we were talking about you this morning. You're starring in the room, and I'm seeing so many ladies this morning here and anxious to hear what you got to say. So you're the star this morning. So tell us about you. Give us a bit on your background and how you got started in law and why was that your career choice?
Yeah. Well, by now, I'm sure you know that that's my calling. That's my love. That's my first love. I've always wanted to be involved in either law, the judiciary, policing. I wasn't fortunate to be a very tall human being. So when I applied to be a police officer years ago, I wasn't successful. I missed it, I think, by an inch or thereabout. But in any event, I pursued my passion. Sometimes growing up, you sort of have a feeling as to what you want to do. There was never a doubt in my mind what I wanted to do. The only issue Aruna was, how do I get there? The financial means of getting there. So for example, I'll tell you, after I completed secondary school, because I attended the current government school, well, at that time was St. Peter's RC, then later my mom and I moved to Monjulu, where I passed common entrance at the Monjulu RC school. Then I went to Wesley College Secondary School. After Wesley College, I went to a multiplicity of places where I was employed. If I get into all those places, that would take us too long. So I'll shorten the story to say to you that I found the medium to be able to get that money to go to study. Even that would take a whole morning. But for 8 years, I applied for scholarships. I applied through the DPA. At that time, they were on the Carenage, and they moved to all different places. And I'm telling you, for 8 years, from 1988 to 96 or thereabout, I applied for scholarship every single year and I never got through. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about education, and I'm so passionate about persons who have the ability should go to study, because I've seen so many times in my practice, Aruna, that I meet so much young persons who have 9 and 10 levels. They're in prison, maybe for marijuana, maybe something minor, and their lives are destroyed. And some of them is because they're frustrated and they really don't have anything to do. So I say all that to say, despite I was one of the fortunate few, and I say fortunate because I was able to find means of saving monies to go to study. Many persons may not have that guts to push themselves thus far. A lot of persons maybe don't know that I don't want to expose too much of it, because it's going to be coming out sometime in the future. But I have done a multiplicity of jobs prior to me being a lawyer. So I've graduated from Wesley College in the late 80s. At that time, I was 15 years old. I never went to college. I did my A-levels privately. And I did my first year law in Marisha House. So I spent just 4 years in university because it was 1 year less than the normal 5 years. You know, so it has been a journey. But my concern more, Arona, is about not me per se, because this is not all about me, because I mean, God has blessed me to reach where I am today to be able to serve the people. But I have a passion for the persons who cannot afford. And the number of intelligent persons we have in this country who want to go to study. I've met persons who want to go to study law, but no longer economic cost is paid for them. Because at one time, the state would pay economic costs for lawyers, which is a large sum. It's approximately 20 something, about 25,000 thereabout per annum. That is a big relief. Once that has been taken away, you would realize that you don't have much lawyers coming back. I mean, you'd realize there's 1 or 2 persons now that are coming back as lawyers. So I say all that to say, we need to ensure that our people, our young people, are educated. We need an educated population, and that is what I'm passionate about. That's one of the many things I'm passionate about. Me being on the program, yes, it's good to feature me, but you know, I don't want to be.
Talk about all of that. We're talking about all your passions. We're going to talk about what's happening home and things that can help us move ahead constructively, because there are a lot of folks who listen to the program and they get a lot from it, motivated. For example, we had Wayne Waggy T Redhead, and the story was similar to yours, and it was so inspiring that had people afterwards saying, you know what, these are stories of success. That means I could definitely do it too. Because you didn't start with no gold spoon or stuff to you, and you had the thousands of dollars in trust funds or what have you. You had to work.
No, I have. No, I have not.
Yeah, the story.
No. I have not been that fortunate. Let me just tell you the multiplicity of jobs that I have done, you know, prior to me being a lawyer. And you might be surprised for yourself. My first job, I was working with my uncle. He's an electrician, Cosmo Sylvester. So after I left school, at that time I was young, I decided, you know, let me find a job. So my task then was to break wall. So he would spray the walls for me, you know, so I'd use a chisel and a hammer to break the walls so he could run the electrical stuff, because in those days you didn't have the electrical cutters. So I did it for about a year. Thereafter, I moved to the Ministry of Construction. In those days, they had what you call a checker, road checker, where you're employed to measure the quantity of work the persons do on the road, either cutting grass, holes on the road, as the case may be. And during that time, I was paid fortnightly. Thereafter, I moved to Cable and Wireless, where I was employed as an international telephone operator, and I moved to different departments. I worked in the statistical department, the marketing department. During that time, I bought a bus, so I would drive bus on weekends. When I'm on vacation, I'll drive the bus, so accumulate monies to go to study. After I had sufficient monies to cover my education, I applied to university and I embarked upon that journey. So in a nutshell, that's the multiplicity of things that I did before I became a lawyer.
And I'm happy that you would have said that, because myself and Waggy had the same conversation where it seems a lot of people want success, but they want to start at the top and not work their way up to that success. And that success is already made, and you've seen successful people and they didn't make any sacrifices, or they didn't have sleepless nights, and they just got where they are, went to sleep and woke up the next day successful. So that is why your story now is important, from humble beginnings, and of course encouraging young people along the way to get to where they see you now.
Yep. And there's a reason, Arona, that I don't stay up late at night. You know, most persons say to me, Derrick, I don't see you anywhere. I don't see you liming. I don't see you in parties. I spent 5 out of that 8 years approximately working in Cable and Wireless, where I would work from 7 in the evening to 8 in the morning. So that was a whole night shift. So we work every other day. And thereafter, I proceeded to university, where I had to stay up again late at nights to study. So when I came back, I said, listen, I am going to try to get my sleep retroactively. The sleep I lost retroactively, I'm going to try to get it. So really and truly, I don't like staying up. You know, if I'm going to stay up, it's because I'm preparing for a matter, I'm preparing for court. But you wouldn't see me 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. No, these are sleep time.
I like that. That's a really good way to look at it. Somebody said you had a yellow bus.
Yes, definitely. But that person know me well. Whoever is that person. That person, if they remember, the name was Positive Life. That was the name of the bus.
Positive Life.
Yes, and that bus commuted the Grand Dance to St. George's route. I still have photos of it, actually.
I like that, Positive Life.
Yes,
That's a good way to start, for real. But moving along from there to now, what would you say you like most about the legal profession?
What I like most about it is the fact that at least you have an opportunity to ensure that justice is done. Sometimes the perception of justice is not always what people expect, what they expect to receive, that perception, but just the mere fact that there is a system that ensure someone could ventilate the issues in court in an impartial way, that to my mind is great, because there are parts of the world where you do not have that level of fairness. In other words, every matter that's going to court, both sides have the opportunity to present their case and present their case fairly. And if one party fails, then you have the opportunity to appeal further. So just that opportunity and the fact that now, to my mind, lawyers are much more accessible than when I was growing up. I remember in Grenada, there were just a few lawyers. My generation, I remember, would have changed that. You have much more lawyers now, even though it is my view that we need some more. That's my humble view. My view is that we do not have too many lawyers. Many times you hear,
I was about to say, but I'm hearing that it's oversaturated. There's way too many lawyers.
No, that is not my view. There is always room at the top. We have approximately 80 or thereabout lawyers who admitted to practice law in Grenada. Persons from other countries, Grenadians, other multiplicity of persons. However, approximately maybe 35 to 40 persons practice. Either in the court or maybe they just have an office. There are many lawyers who do not go to court. So I'm saying what we need is more lawyers to champion the rights of the ordinary man. There are many persons who go to study law, and I'll be very forthright with you. And they do that solely for economic reasons. They see it as a means of making money, and maybe people is not people. That's not the focus. And I'm saying fairness, justice, the best for your society, to lift your society, to make your society a better place, that should be the impetus. That should be the catalyst why any person decide to embark upon a profession, not law only, medicine, carpentry, mechanics, even if you want to be whichever profession. That should be the focus.
You should have a love and passion for that first, and then the money should be a bonus.
Definitely.
Not being the only reason, because that way you have no passion. There's no love for it, so you're just gonna do it half-heartedly.
Yes.
You're never gonna get 100 out of it.
You're so correct, because when I embarked in the legal profession, I never envisaged having my own office. I never envisaged having lawyers working with me. I never envisaged growing like this. It just happened. My passion. In other words, I would have achieved my self-actualization when I was admitted to practice law in 2001, so 19 years ago. That is when I would have fulfilled my life's calling. And that's the way I saw it. So everything else is gravy. Whatever else I accomplished. So now my service is ready to people. So money is secondary to me. And any person who come to my office, who visit me, who would have had contact with me, would recognize that my focus is to ensure that whatever I do, justice is done. Everybody will not like you, Aruna. You will have persons who, no matter how good you do, no matter how well you aspire, you have persons who will not like you. But you focus on the task ahead and you obliterate all the noises, because you would always have noises. I always draw on the Bible because I read a lot. I like to read. And I say sometimes that Jesus walked the earth a perfect man. He died for the sins of mankind. Yes, he was murdered by the same persons who he died for. And I'm sure in your profession also. Yeah, definitely. In your profession, you'll be doing excellently, but you would still have a noise in a particular quarter. For example, I have championed the cause for persons many times in this country over all the years that I've been practicing law, without fear or favor, with no motive. As I've said repeatedly, my motive is not political. My motive is not economical. My motive is my passion and love for the law, because that is the oath that I took. So if, Aruna, you my friend, and you're doing something wrong, I should be honorable enough to say, I disagree with you. That doesn't mean that I don't support you. And sometimes persons get the two confused. Because I condemn you today means that you're my enemy.
You see, I always use the analogy of a parent and a child. Your child do wrong, you scold, you probably beat, you flog, whatever the case might be. That does not mean you don't love your child, but you just want to make sure that your child stays on the right path and doing the right thing. So, and I always use that as a perfect example. A parent wouldn't say, I don't like my child because I'm correcting you or I want you to do well. So then why, if I'm standing up for something or seeing you do something, I shouldn't be able to say, well, I'm not feeling that something is off here. We need to fix this. We need to work on that. And you should not take it as, okay, I don't like you anymore. I'm against you. What sort of friend am I if I'm seeing you do certain things that's not, kosher, and I'm just sitting back and agreeing with it?
Exactly. So we should grow as a society in that respect, and we should show more. And that's what I've observed, over the many years that I've been practicing. I've seen like a lack of love. As if we've lost that. We've lost that humanity, that human touch, that community spirit that we once had. We need to show more love to each other.
And respect.
And respect, and not condemn each other. I've heard persons refer to senior persons by their name. I've heard children call their parents by the names. And I'm saying that, these are the little things that we should hold on to if we want to continue to build a better society and a better Grenada.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, so that was that. We're moving along now. Of course, you would have held numerous positions in Grenada, and like I said, you are well known. But in terms of course, the public service, and you would have been there, and you would have left. Why?
Well, I've said so before, but I know you want me to repeat it, so I'm going to repeat it.
Because my audience probably have never heard of it.
I'm going to repeat it for you. I have spent. Let me just indicate to you, before I went to the public service, I was a director at the Morris Bishop International Airport. So I was on the board at the airport. I was a director at the National Housing Authority. I was chairman of Allied Health Professional Council. That's the council that grants licenses to psychologists, nail technicians, and a multiplicity of other professions. I was also chairman of the Grenada Football Association Disciplinary Committee and chairman of the Public Service Commission. I always knew that I was going to spend approximately 2 terms maximum at the Public Service Commission. It was not a position that I intend to keep for forever then, because it had impacted my practice severely, because 2 days approximately, Fridays and Mondays, were taken away from my legal practice, because I would get the papers, the volume of documents on Friday. I would have to read and prepare, and we would spend the whole day Monday at meetings. So I felt after 2 terms, almost 2 terms, 5 years, that was a sufficient time. And then my office was suffering in more ways than one. My clients were suffering. There's some matters I could not have taken. Because once I'm in the public service, automatically I can't represent anyone in the service. That's the first thing. And secondly, I can't go to court on Mondays. And sometimes on Fridays. So And there were other occasions when I would have meetings during the week, and that would take away from my work. And I couldn't put the court in a position whereby I had to say to the court, listen, please adjourn my matters, because I have a no adjournment policy in my office. And there are some matters, of course, that the clients would like me to handle, despite the fact at that time I had a multiplicity of lawyers. Gotcha. So the reason really has been that I've served my time. And when you serve your time,
it's time to have to know. That's the thing. When it's time to move on.
Yeah,
leave it a bang.
Yes, and when it's time to pass the baton. I remember when I left PSC Aruna, so many persons said to me that I was going to get involved in politics, that I was going to lead a particular political party, that I was going to that myself and the Prime Minister fell out, and all those things. I'll be honest with you, was false. If those issues were true, I would have found a diplomatic way to say so, if they were true. But the Prime Minister knows that at that time we had no problems, absolutely none. We never had problems to cause that. And even if I had a problem with anyone, and I would not handle it like that, because I prefer to deal with issues maturely. You sit, you talk, and you discuss. My position was at that time, after 5 years, I would have done sufficiently. I've gained sufficient experience. I tried my best. I think I did the best I could have under the circumstances, and it was time to move on. And I've answered that question so many times, so I'm happy to answer it for you again.
But you didn't answer it here, so if you don't answer it here,
I know that. So that's why I took my time to go through it for you.
We appreciate a whole lot, and I'm getting a lot of love for that from my audience saying the same thing. We appreciate that. So my next question, and I want a really honest response for this one. Are you satisfied where we're, and I'm talking country now, the entire trial and state, are you happy where we're at this point in time?
Well, happiness is subjective. I am happy where we at. No, let me give you the answer. I'm happy where we at, and this is my answer. Because one, we're in a state whereby during this pandemic, we do not have any known cases of COVID. Our people are still resilient. You can see that even though our people are suffering, some of them lost their jobs, some people don't have money to pay rent, you could still see some smile on their faces. Persons are still trying to be giving. More persons are now engaged in agriculture. You're seeing much. When I drive around the country and I go to the other courts, I always stop and buy something on the side of the road. More persons are selling. So you're seeing an entrepreneurial spirit. So I say all that to say, I look at the glass half full, not half empty. So that is how I look at things. So I'm pleased to see my people being so resilient, because it reminds me of the days of my grandmother when I used to go to the market with her in Grenville and sell. It bring back that same spirit. So whenever I go to court in Grenville, I always go to the market and buy something from that same spot where I used to stand with her way back in the day. So it's good to see that spirit. What I need to see more is the persons in Grenada who are intelligent academically be given that opportunity. I remember Arona, when I went to university in the 90s, all the Bajans, they went to university free. When we had to pay thousands of dollars, they were just paying $150 and they're about to register. Imagine that. So the foreign students were basically paying for the Bajans to go to school free. So there are Bajans who are doing 2 and 3 degrees, they were doing masters. So I'm saying that we need to have a system. Too many times I see in my office, I go to prison, I meet young people, intelligent. Some of them have 10, 11, 12 more subjects than me. Mm-hmm. And when I see that, and they want the opportunity to study and they can't get it, they're frustrated. That is the sort of things that I look at holistically. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, if you have love for people, education is the only way out. Because I would not have been speaking to you now if I didn't have the 3 Gs. If I didn't have gall, guts, and gumption, I would not be here today.
To live in Grenada, you need all 3. Then
absolutely. And the 4th G, God.
I like that. I really do. You mentioned your first love. What is your second love?
My second love was maybe aviation. At one time, I wanted to be a pilot, so I started on that, and then I said, "No, let me stay on the ground." I did a few hours flying.
And that was it.
Yeah. And I decided, no. Let me pursue law.
Yeah.
You know,
So
maybe if I wasn't doing law, maybe I would have been involved in business. I think I'm a fairly good businessman, and I say so with a lot of humility.
would you ever get involved in frontline politics? That's what we want to know, because I'm already seeing votes, counting votes for you in this live chat, and I'm seeing a lot of rumors circulating. Derrick Sylvester is aiming towards.
No, don't believe anything I say to my people. Anything you want to know, ask me. I'll be very open, and I'm a very open person. I speak to anyone who wants to engage me. I'll speak to the homeless man on the street, and I'll speak to the king. My love, my passion is law and people. And sometimes people transcribe that into politics. You know, I have a lot of persons have mentioned it. I've seen it recently. I've seen postings and so, but I believe politics is not something that you just push yourself into. Persons should call you. In other words, politics.
Well, they're calling you.
Well,
300 are calling you right now.
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard the call yet. I haven't heard the call. But I'm saying my passion really is law. That's my passion, law and people.
But you're not writing it out.
Huh? I didn't hear
But
that.
you're not ruling out getting into it.
Well, no one knows the future, because I do not want to be in a position to sit here and say to you, Rona, I'm not going to leave this office today. I'm going to stay until 4 o'clock. And then lo and behold, there's an earthquake and I have to leave the office. You know, but I say all that to say that I have seen, and I'm not speaking about Grenada now, I'm speaking holistically. I'm speaking regionally, internationally. I have seen persons get involved in politics who mislead and misguide the people into making them believe they want the best for them. And when their concern really is only themselves. I have seen persons get involved in politics whose goal, to my mind, is to manipulate and control people. I have seen persons get involved in politics not because of love of people. I've seen persons get involved in politics who fail in their own career. And I'm saying persons must realize, the voting population, and they're very wise now, should realize that if you're going to select John Brown to be your MP, you should first look at his life. Is he successful in what he does? If he's not successful in his business, in his life, how could he be successful to run a particular constituency? If he never had love for people before, how all of a sudden he has an epiphany and he now has a love for people? And Grenada is so small. My position is, I would never select myself to be a politician. No, I would not do that. I believe if Grenadians want persons to serve, there should be a means of selecting persons to serve. And you must find persons to serve. But I am not going to say in the least, my love now, my passion now is law. I enjoy coming to this office, preparing my cases, reading new cases, preparing submissions, going before the court, getting your wins, getting your losses, appealing, and doing what you have to do. That is where my passion lies.
In all my years of politics,
in terms of politics, God alone knows.
Listen, now I understand why you're touted as being the best. In all my years of conducting interviews and having conversations, that was the most diplomatic answer I've ever received to a question. So now I get why they're pushing you.
I must
do a good job.
I must give you credit. You bring out the best in me.
I've never gotten that diplomatic answer ever. But before we go, we have a couple minutes left though. You've been in the media for the past couple of weeks. You've been very vocal, and of course, other lawyers have done the same. And I must say, we must applaud you guys for standing up, because for a while we thought, you guys were sleepwalking or you weren't paying attention to what's going on. But hearing you guys vocal and seeing you on different forums speaking up about things that impacts us as a country was a really good feeling. Especially yourself, you'd have had numerous press conferences and what have you, engaging in different topics, one of which being, of course, the bill that, and they say there's any flu that they say come out now, they say that's the name of it, the bill. But Tell us a little bit about those that you're deeply concerned about.
Okay. Let me tell you first. First, I had a lot of reservation in coming out because there is one of the ethical considerations in the practice of law is that you shouldn't practice law in public. However, if the issues touch and concern the public, then of course it must be raised. And you would realize that, and I'm making this appeal now, that only some lawyers that come out to speak out on issues. And I am saying it shouldn't be some. We should have much more because they probably share the same view, but they're just, I don't know why they don't want to speak out. And I'm saying this has nothing to do with you advertising or you sometimes in life you must take a stand, because if you do not take a stand, then you basically aid the oppressor. For example, the issue in Fort Judy, that matter was referred to me by another by a senior lawyer. Yes, I decided I'm going to give it the best that I can legally, and I'm going to continue to do so. But that doesn't mean in any way that because I take such a position means that one, I have issues with a particular race of people or have issue with a particular political organization. My issue is this: I would stand up for any issue. Once it's a legal issue, and once there is a measure of injustice, a measure of unfairness, when I examine it, juxtaposed with the oath that I took. You see, I cannot sit in my office or anywhere and see some measure of injustice or some wrong being committed, and I could do something about it and don't do anything. Then the day I do that is the day I go back to the court and ask the court to revoke my license to practice. This is synonymous to a doctor in a hospital seeing a patient need treatment and he stand by and do nothing. So all the issues that I touch on are issues that could benefit the people. In other words, if I stay silent, if I was thinking economics, I stay silent, I stay in my office and I make money, is either go and do matters for free and help people and ensure that persons are being fairly treated. No, because the other attorneys who you don't see, that is what they do. And I'm saying what they must do is lend a voice. Lend a voice. Whenever wrong is being done, lend a voice. So in other words, you should not be seeing Derrick, Sylvester, Francis, Paul, Anselm, Claude, Cajetan, Ho, Jerry, Edwin, whoever, over and over and over. You should be seeing other persons who know that it's a wrong that's being committed or about to be committed, and you at least speak up. That doesn't mean because I spoke up means that I do not have respect for my distinguished colleagues. Myself and Darshan Ramdani, the AG, we have a very good professional relationship. We never had any issues. Sometimes we disagree on the law. But myself and all my colleagues, Arona, every single one of them, I have an excellent professional relationship with them. Of course, in a profession, you may have times when you would have a little disagreement, issues of law, but
the respect is still there.
That should not go beyond the courtroom. So I say all that to say that is what I'm here to do, to just continue to champion the cause of persons, to be the voice for the voiceless. Because somebody has to speak for them. Imagine if we had allowed that COVID-19 bill to pass. Mm-hmm. The country locked down for 1 year. The Constitution states it's only 6 months maximum. You have issues, you have constitutional issues whereby your property could be taken away from you. You have a penalty. You have a penalty of $25,000 and 1 year imprisonment. But there are certain constitutional issues, legal issues in relation to the bill that I wouldn't raise because they're technical legal issues, in relation to the state of emergency, in relation to the regulations, whether or not an act should have been passed. But these are technical legal issues that I have never raised with the public because you don't want to confuse the public with those technical legal issues. But they were able to pick up on it even before the lawyers did, because we weren't aware of these issues in relation to the passing of the bill. The first time I saw the bill, I saw it on Facebook. And I've heard it said in other quarters that has not been the practice. Or one of the practice has been when bills of that nature are about to be passed in the houses, it's forwarded to the Bar Association. There's a committee that, or they would send it out to all the lawyers to get our views and our comments in relation to it. That has always been the practice. But I think, you see, and we must give credit where credit is due. I think it was extremely wise of the state, and I commend them for that, to withdraw the bill and seek consultation. You know, it's all well and good to condemn and condemn and condemn, but when there's a time to give some credit, you give credit. It was extremely wise, and I commend them for that. You know, I don't recall if I'd said so before, but let the record reflect that I commend them for pulling back that bill, and get advice from attorneys. If you do not trust, if you believe the attorneys in Grenada may not give you the advice that you need, get a multiplicity of advice, you know, in relation to the proposed bill going forward. I see no reason why we cannot continue with the 1 week. What if a vaccine is found next week, next month? We continue with the 1 week?
So which one stood out?
I've heard it said that you have to print over the complete regulations. That's not true. All you do is just amend the date. Amend the date. So if the regulations are going to be the same, just amend the date.
Which one really stood out for you that you had serious issues with, that had you scratching your head?
Well, almost everything. But let me tell you the ones. The one that where the police could enter your house without a warrant because they have reasonable cause to suspect. They're not medical personnel. And two, the fact that they could deprive you of your property. Everything else except land. And also the fact that you can appeal to the magistrate court. The magistrate court is a creature of statute. The magistrate court doesn't have a right. You cannot appeal to a magistrate court. The magistrate court is the lowest court. And also the mere fact that under the Emergency Powers Act, I'm getting into law now. Under the Emergency Powers Act, there's a tribunal that's set up for that purpose, a 3-member committee. The Chief Justice appoints one person in her own deliberate judgment and 2 persons appointed by the Chief Justice on the advice of the Governor General. So that tribunal is set up to hear those complaints. So I'm saying that there's a lot of issues that I have, so many issues I have with the bill. You know, I don't want to make it a legal issue, but the mere fact that the bill has been withdrawn, I think the conversation should now die down and allow cool and quiet heads to examine the bill. As I said, Dr. Alexis should be engaged in relation to that bill. And the Bar Association should be engaged. I believe that is being done now. So to determine the way forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So someone says, as always, we have the cart and the horse scenario.
Yeah, that may very well be a good way to put it. I believe the intention of the Attorney General was good. I believe that he was trying to ensure that at the end of the day that here what our people are safe. But to have a state of emergency for 1 year, to my mind, and not only that, but during that year, who has the authority? We know. Listen, I have a lot of police officers who are friends and family. More than persons know. A lot. But we're also aware that some persons in position of power abuse it. Mm-hmm. We see it every day. When sometimes when you move someone from one position in an organization and you give them a little administrative position, a supervisory position, it gets to the head and they behave differently. Could you just imagine leaving all the powers in the hands of the police? So I'm saying that they must go back to the drawing board and let's deal with this objectively and for the benefit of all Grenadians. I do not want any Grenadians any person to die from COVID. Mm-hmm. Neither family, friend, or foe. You know, I don't want anything bad to happen, even to my enemies, much less my friend. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm saying all that to say that we just have to be careful and take it one step at a time going forward, see what is happening, have as much testing as possible, you know. look at the borders, see if we have to close it, if we have to keep it open, and be our brother's keeper.
Makes sense. Well, we are out of time. So we definitely, I hope it would not take COVID or whatever for me to get you to come in the room again. But I think we need to continue this conversation and do more in terms of from a nation standpoint.
Yes.
Have more
Yes.
conversation from a nation
Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. I believe COVID is responsible for you having me here, because while I'm speaking to you, the other rooms have attorneys who are doing matters online. And if it wasn't for COVID, I would have been physically in court.
You would have been in court. So I have to be grateful for COVID. But we have to continue this conversation. So I'm looking forward to when I message or call you and say, okay, I need you on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going to say, all right, let's do this. Because there's a lot more that we need to tackle. And I'm getting a lot of questions as well from the from the folks in the room. So I'd like to tackle some of those as well. So any final words before we go?
Well, just to say to the public that to stay safe during these times. I know it's difficult times in terms of the economy is not what it used to be. A lot of persons have lost their jobs, but find different ways of making monies, and stay on the honest path, because many persons believe that lawyers benefit from the proliferation in crime, and that is so false. What we do is that we try to assist many persons, because we know we live in a society where we all know each other. Grenada is a small place. Everybody know everybody, or everybody knows somebody who know somebody. So I'm saying, let's be our brother's keeper. Now it's time for us to come closer. Now is not time for violence. Now is not the time for persons to be inflicting injuries and death on one another. It pains me when I see one young black man kill another black man. And I'm saying there's no reason for that. We need to have more love in our society. And something I've championed, and I'm going to end on that note. We should have anger management, conflict resolution being taught from since the pre-primary level. So I'll end on that note.
I totally agree. As a matter of fact, I had that very same conversation last week, and I'm happy that you would have said it. So, like I said, I'm going to issue an invitation again for you to join me, and I want to delve in that part of it, the conflict and some of the solutions that we can find, because it's all well and good to say, complain about things, but it's also good to offer solutions and, ways to fix the problem. So I'm looking forward to that part the next time we meet. So again, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time this morning, and I'm looking forward to having you again.
Thank you for being in the ladies' room.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's our program this morning. Those of you who just joined in, you'd have missed a lot, but you can go look at the program again on our Facebook page and be part of the conversation. Yeah, we got to bring him back. That was a really, really good conversation. Looking forward to having him back in the room. So until tomorrow, catch us again for another one. Of course, the ladies' room came to you to the kind compliments of Subway, Beacon Insurance, and Western Union.